Well, what can we do? Uh, well, what are countries doing? Ukraine, Moldova, Finland, Romania, and Poland right now are passing out iodine pills. Why? Well, in the case of radiation exposure, particularly to iodine, you want to take pills to capture the iodine, pass it through the body without doing damage to your thyroid, so you don't get thyroid cancer. This is already in play in these countries. Then, in the case of Belarus, it has a big reactor the Russians built. They dedicated an air missile defense brigade at Belarus, and Japan's prime minister said, well, maybe we need to. And then I mentioned already that Taiwan is doing radiological fire drills on a routine basis near its plants to make the population ready to deal with the probability of this happening. Well, the UAE has had emergency drills. We don't know what they were, but they lasted a week and involved many, many nations. So that's what other countries are doing. And let's go to the final slide. Set. What can be done? Now, there are things you could do to reduce the risk. I don't think you can eliminate them. But if you remove spent fuel, at least the older stuff, from the ponds and put them in hard casts that are made of concrete and stainless steel, you can probably reduce the impact of a spent fuel pond being hit because it won't have as much radioactive material in it to spread or catch fire. And you can redistribute the spent fuel so the hottest fuel isn't in one place. You can build spray systems over the pond, which was recommended by the National Research Council, which is a congressionally created council. Of course, we never took their advice. And you can construct remote backup reactor control rooms, which Japan has done, at least in one or two instances, I believe. And that means that if you knock out the control room, there's another one that can at least shut down the reactor safely that hasn't been targeted. Second slide. Well, you can build birdcage assemblies around certain important things, maybe the spent fuel ponds or the reactor or any number of things. And the reason that might make sense is the shaped charges, tandem charges, have to be triggered. And they do that by coupling with the surface of the target. If they do get set off with a birdcage, they're not going to be effective against the intended target. You can build some of the structures in the future out of ultra high performance concrete, which instead of having a PSI rating of maybe 50 to 150 pounds per square inch would have a PSI rating of, I don't know, 30 to 60,000 pounds per square inch, which would make them very hard to penetrate. And then there's active defenses, both against drones and missiles that you could employ. None of this is cheap, but it isn't like you'd have to rebuild the entire plant to do some of these things. And all of these things might help. The industry is not terribly attracted to doing any of this because it draws attention to a vulnerability they don't really want to talk about. And the reason that's of some moment is right now, Westinghouse is trying to sell all kinds of reactors. You guessed it, in Ukraine, Poland, Romania, and anywhere else in Eastern Europe they can get away with. So are the Koreans. That may not be a complete thought anymore. Let's go to the next slide. And I think that's the last. Future plants, one thing to think about might be don't build them. And we apparently are expecting the American taxpayer to subsidize the, I think, $3 billion worth of financing for Romanian nuclear reactor construction of US plants. There are other places like Saudi Arabia that where we build. Poland and Ukraine are already lined up, and our government is trying to help them financially. I don't know whether that makes sense, but we haven't yet decided to even raise the question.